All right, let's get right into it. When you're planning a new website, you're probably thinking about things like design, content, maybe some code, but what about its environmental impact? It's a huge question. So today, we're going to dig into how to make smarter, eco-friendly choices by comparing the two main roads you can take in web design, going with open source tools versus using paid platforms.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll pull back the curtain on the internet's surprising carbon footprint. Then, we'll nail down what green web design actually means. After that, we'll explore both the open source and the paid toolpaths, put them head-to-head to see the trade-offs, and wrap it all up with a clear strategy you can actually use for your own projects.
So, first things first, we have to address this massive misconception that the internet is just out there, this weightless, ethereal thing that lives in the cloud. But that idea, it's not just wrong, it's actually pretty misleading.
I mean, it sounds like a weird question, right? A web page doesn't weigh anything, but every single click you make, every time you scroll, every little piece of code that runs, it all has a real physical consequence.
And this is the part that is just mind-blowing. The digital world's hunger for energy is so huge that its carbon emissions are on par with the entire aviation industry. Think about that. All those data centers around the world humming away 24/7, that's the sound of our digital habits having a very real-world cost.
But here's the crucial thing to remember. This isn't some hopeless crisis we can't do anything about. It's fundamentally a design problem. And just like any other design problem, it has a solution. It's all about making smarter choices, using the right tools, and being conscious of the impact.
Okay, so if we're going to solve this design problem, we need to know what we're aiming for. What does it actually mean for a website to be green or eco-friendly?
Well, at its core, it's really all about one thing: minimizing energy use. And that's not just about the big servers in a data center somewhere. It's also about the energy your phone or your laptop has to use just to load and display the page. It's a full circle kind of thing.
So, this breaks down into three key ideas. First, efficiency and performance. Simply put, a faster, lighter site uses less power. Second, being conscious of your resources. Those huge, beautiful images and videos, they're usually the heaviest offenders. And third, sustainable infrastructure. This is about choosing a web host that runs on renewable energy and, just as importantly, designing your site so people can find what they need fast without wasting clicks, time, and energy.
All right, now we get to the heart of it. Let's look at our first option, the open source path. This world is really all about community, working together, and most of all, having complete and total control.
The whole idea here is that the software itself is free for anyone to use, to look at, and to change. And for a developer, that is incredibly powerful. It means you can control every single line of code, every feature, and build something that is truly custom and highly optimized.
And you almost certainly know some of these names. WordPress, it powers a huge chunk of the entire internet. For design work, you've got incredible tools like Figma, which has a super powerful free version. These are the building blocks that let you create basically anything you can dream up.
But this level of control is a bit of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's amazing because you can strip out every single thing you don't need and make a site that is incredibly lean and fast. But the flip side is that all the responsibility for performance, for security, it all falls on you. An unoptimized WordPress site can actually be a massive energy hog.
Now, let's look at the other side of the coin, the paid toolpath. This approach is built on a totally different promise. It's all about convenience, seamless integration, and a much more guided experience.
So with paid tools, you're basically making a trade. You give up some of that deep, granular control, and in return, you get simplicity and a ton of automated optimizations. They handle all the complicated tech stuff behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about it.
And again, I'm sure you recognize these names. Website builders like Webflow and Squarespace are famous for being user-friendly and having great performance built right in. And it's interesting, even if you use an open source tool like WordPress, you can still bring in paid tools, like a premium plugin that helps your site load faster with just a couple of clicks.
The green benefit here is that streamlined efficiency. It's like being on a high-speed train. It's fast, it's reliable, and it just works right out of the box. But that slick, controlled environment has a catch. You're often locked into their system, which means you can't make deep custom tweaks. And sometimes it's really hard to know for sure if the data centers powering it all are actually running on green energy.
Okay, so we've explored both paths. Now for the main event.
Let's put them right next to each other and really see how they stack up when it comes to building a green website. This is control versus convenience.
And this table just lays out that central trade-off perfectly. With open source, the software doesn't cost anything, but you might end up paying a lot more for a developer to build and maintain it. You have the potential for absolute peak performance, but you need a real expert to get you there. Paid tools, on the other hand, have predictable subscription fees, and they're much easier to use, but you have to sacrifice that deep customization and, often, transparency. There is no single best choice here. It really comes down to what you value most.
So that brings us to the most important part of this whole thing. How do you take all this information and actually apply it? What is the right green web strategy for you and your project?
Well, let's say you're a solopreneur or you're running a small business. Your most valuable asset is probably your time, right? In that case, a paid builder like Squarespace or Webflow is often a fantastic choice. It lets you focus on running your business, not on dealing with technical headaches.
But if you're a bigger design agency or a large company, the whole game changes. For you, control, custom features, and the ability to scale are absolutely king. So an open source approach with a dedicated dev team is almost always going to be the better path for building a highly optimized bespoke experience.
But here's what's really important to get. This is not an either-or decision. In fact, probably the most common and often the most effective strategy is a hybrid one. You can start with a powerful open source base like WordPress, and then add best-in-class paid tools on top of it, like premium plugins or top-tier green hosting. You really can get the best of both worlds.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that we can't let the hunt for a perfect solution stop us from making progress right now. The call to action is to just start. Start questioning your tools, start prioritizing efficiency, and start making conscious, informed choices. Because ultimately, every single choice we make as creators on the web, from the font we choose to the platform we build on, it all adds up, it all has an impact. So the real question isn't whether you can build the perfect green website. It's about what single, conscious, sustainable choice you can make today.